Hey, welcome to the Next Wave podcast. I'm Matt Wolfe. I'm here with Nathan Lanz. And today we're going to try to do our best to demystify all of these recent launches with OpenAI, because they've released 4.5 and then 4.1 and then 04 and then 03. And it's just getting really, really confusing. So this episode is designed to break it all down for you, tell you which each of these models are good for, what they're not good for, and we'll even rank them from dumbest to smartest at the end and tell you which ones to use for which things. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump in and talk about all these recent OpenAI announcements. I think probably the best place to start is with this one right here, because this is probably the first piece of news in this sort of sprint that OpenAI is on of releasing news, which is that they just rolled out this memory feature in OpenAI. And to me, this is probably one of like the coolest, most valuable features they've rolled out. I found it really useful. I know, Nathan, before we hit record, you were saying something to the same effect of like, out of everything, the memory is probably the coolest.
Yeah, I think so it's funny, the team at Grok, they reached out to me about what should they build, maybe 2 months ago. And I was like, focus on memory. Nailed that first. Right. So unfortunately for Elon Musk and Grok, OpenAI definitely got there first. And I think long term, that's how AI is going to get really useful for people, because people think of it right now as just ChatGPT, where you go in there and you copy and paste something in, maybe have it help you in some way. But eventually, these models are going to understand maybe what you want or what you want to accomplish better than you yourself understand that.
Yeah. Well, I actually, the very first thing when this new memory feature rolled out was there was a button that says, do you want to try it? And I said, yeah, sure, let's try it. And it automatically pasted in this prompt, describe me based on all our chats, make it catchy. This is what it said about me. I don't mind sharing mine. It says, you're Matt Wolfe, a future forward creator, AI trailblazer, and the go-to tech Sherpa for over 500,000 subscribers. You're not just riding the wave of innovation, you're helping build the surfboard. Your YouTube channel is a hub for creators, entrepreneurs, and curious minds hungry for what's next in AI and tech. You break down the complex, spotlight the useful, and always bring the human angle, all while rocking a retro futuristic vibe. Whether it's a short, punchy reel or deep dive 20-minute banger, your goal is always the same: empower your audience to do more, create faster, and stay ahead. Off camera, you're a family guy with a white pup named Bowie, a deep love for camping, and a soft spot for the San Diego Padres. You've got a musician's soul, a builder's brain, and a storyteller's heart. Even when burnout hits or the algorithm plays rough, you keep showing up, driven by purpose, not just metrics. You're not just documenting the future, you are part of shaping it. I was pretty flattered by that, so I don't mind sharing it.
Yeah. That was, parts of that were kind of generic, and then parts of it seemed like it was, kind of personalized for you. I have a feeling I probably talked about more personal stuff with it, because the stuff it said to me felt more personal than that. It said a lot of things that I did not tell it, though, exactly. It kind of understood things about me and about how I feel about myself, about my accomplishments, my failures, things I want to accomplish before I die.
And it was stuff you didn't actually tell it? It sort of figured it out?
Some of it. Some of it. And I was like, holy it's connecting the dots. It's like understood my personality somewhat, and the things that I get inspired by or that I want to do or that bother me or whatever. But it definitely connected some dots and said some things that I did not explicitly tell it, which was just, holy crap, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I literally
for me, this one feels like pretty on par with the various discussions I've had, right? I have, talked about my YouTube channel a lot, right? I use it a lot for, hey, I need an idea for this YouTube video. Here's the transcript. Help me come up with a title. All right. Help me come up with some concepts for thumbnails, right? So I go to it a lot for ideation around my YouTube channel. So it obviously knows a lot about the fact that I do stuff on YouTube. It has all the transcripts of my YouTube videos, because I always copy and paste them in and go, hey, how should I title this thing? It's kind of random that the one sort of personal thing it picked out about me is that I have a dog named Bowie.
Right.
Not that I'm married with 2 kids or, things like that, but just I have a white dog named Bowie. I'm like, I I don't actually remember telling you that, but it's true. So I'm sure it was in like one of my videos or something somewhere.
Right. Yeah. I mean, mine was more personal and like to the point where I didn't cry, but it made me feel emotional, like reading it. I was like, that is crazy. And just imagine where that goes. Like, okay, that's like we always say, that's the worst it's ever going to be.
Right.
Right.
And the
It's
more
like,
you use it, the better it's going to know about you. You know, the more it's going to know about you and the better response you're going to get on things like this.
We're totally going to have the thing that, like, in the future, unfortunately, we all pass away. When you pass away, you'll have like a memory of who you were. It won't be perfect, but God, it'll probably be like a 90% of the essence of like who you were as a person. And that is just shocking that like that technology is like basically, it's almost there. It's like, it's right there.
Yeah. It's getting really close. And this was sort of just the first announcement. This announcement came out on April 10th, right? So this was sort of like the first in a series
Small
of like
little
almost
announcement,
every
like
day. They didn't even seem to make much of a big deal about it. I don't think like they even did a sort of live stream for this one. Almost everything OpenAI does a live stream about, and this one they didn't even. They're just like, here's a new feature that we rolled out.
Well, they're talking about doing a social network and stuff now, which if they do that, memory is a core feature of actually understanding who the people are, right?
Yeah, I mean, I actually haven't read too much into the whole social network thing. I just pulled up an article from Reuters about it. But yeah, that's another announcement that has sort of bubbled up, is that OpenAI is working on an X-like social media network, which is interesting, right? Because there's like a pretty big feud between Sam Altman and Elon Musk.
It makes sense, though. This is why I told the Grok guys, like, that's why they should do it, is because they already have all that data about what people are sharing and what they're interacting, how they're interacting with people. And so that would be their advantage over OpenAI, is that data.
Yeah, super interesting. We'll kind of keep an eye on how that one plays out. One of the other things that OpenAI has been doing is they've been releasing these new models, but they're also sunsetting a bunch of other models, right? So apparently GPT-4 is going to be phased out on April 30th. And then also GPT 4.5, which up until this week was like the newest model they released, is also going to get phased out. They sent out an email to all of the OpenAI API users, or maybe it was everybody in ChatGPT, I don't know. But they sent out an email basically saying we're going to phase out 4.5 because 4.1 is better and faster. Like, dude, OpenAI sucks at naming these things.
Yeah. And they had said that they were going to solve that by doing GPT-5, which would be like the all-in-one, the one model to rule them all kind of thing, where like you just talk to the one model and then behind the scenes it's routing you to whatever is the best model. Probably is what they're doing. But they didn't do it. They like delayed it. They're like, oh, that's going to come out. Sorry, we're going to have naming problems for a few more months. Like, give us like 2 or 3 more months, and then that'll be solved. So I kind of wonder, like, is 4.5, was it a failed run, or are they just finding that it's so expensive and people don't know how to use it, so it makes more sense to improve upon it with some kind of new reasoning model, or with the GPT-5 have it part of that kind of stack of things that they might recommend?
I don't know. I mean, 4.5 has been my favorite model. When I've been using ChatGPT lately, I've been using 4.5 more than any other model.
Yeah.
But if I had to guess, I think it's the cost, right? Because the GPT 4.5, the cost of using it in the API was just like mind blowing. Like nobody was using it because it was just way too expensive. So I think cost was probably the biggest factor. And supposedly, they rolled out 4.1 inside of the API. So this is all super confusing, right? Because 4.5 is available in ChatGPT, but 4.1 is not available in ChatGPT, but it is available in the API.
And they were pushing it as like good for coding. But I think
they were pushing this one as the best one for coding, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's kind of confusing, but like then if O3 is out, I assume it's got to be better at coding. So it's like, then what's the use case, or it's confusing.
Yeah, this one is available in the API. This is GPT 4.1 in the API. And they released 4.1, 4.1 mini, and 4.1 nano. They outperform 4.0, 4.0 mini. Let's see, coding, it scores 54.6% on SWE-bench verified. And it's an improvement over 4.0 and over 4.5. So apparently it's a lot better at coding than 4.5, but 4.5 wasn't good at coding in the first place. It was more sort of like, it felt more like human-like when you were chatting with it, I guess, but it wasn't really a model that was good with like logic and coding. But they did put out this like graph, which is intelligence based on multilingual MMLU, massive multitask language understanding. So this one's more of like a general benchmark of just like intelligence. So we can see that GPT 4.1 nano, the latency, that's the speed, right? So like how fast from the time you give it the prompt to you get your response. So GPT 4.1 nano is super fast, but not the smartest. Mini is pretty smart, smarter and faster than 4.0 mini. And the new full GPT 4.1 is about the same speed as 4.0, but slightly smarter. That's what I'm making from that chart.
Oh my God, that's super confusing. So this is why they need the GPT-5. It's interesting. They must have really realized like you do need different models for different use cases. And so they're just like, well, for now, let's just keep giving them different crazy names, but then we'll have to make some kind of smart router.
Yeah.
So hopefully.
And again, I think like their ultimate goal is you enter a prompt and then it chooses for you the best model to use, right? Like,
yeah, well, that's what GPT-5, they've already said that's what it's going to be.
Okay, That's kind of the goal that they're trying to get to. You know, so SweBench, this is basically how good it is at coding. I believe this is the one where it goes on GitHub and tries to find like bugs that need to be fixed and how good is it at fixing them or something like that. Given a code repository, an issue description must generate a patch to solve the issue. So GPT 4.1 is way up here. But one thing I've noticed is GPT and OpenAI has completely stopped comparing themselves to like external models. Like you notice how Gemini 2.5 is not on here. Notice how Claude 3.7 is not on here.
Yeah.
Like we don't know how this compares based on this graph to models that aren't OpenAI's models.
Right. Yeah, and who knows with the coding too, like things have changed a lot in the last month. Like all of a sudden, like Google took over coding. Like Claude was like in a huge lead forever. Then they released 3.7, which seemed good, but they kind of got over ambitious because they would try to do tons of things for you and like seemed to be making more mistakes than 3.5 did. And then Google came out with like 2.5 Pro, their Gemini model, and that's just been amazing. Like people haven't talked about that enough. Like Google has taken over coding with AI in the last month. I think most people probably don't realize that, but like that has happened in the last month.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I mean, I still do quite a bit of coding. I've kind of been using Windsurf a little more than anything, a little more than Cursor, really. And yeah, I've been pretty much using Gemini 2.5 the most. And every once in a while I'll get hung up and I'll go to Claude and be like, well, can Claude solve it? And sometimes Claude can solve random stuff that Gemini can't. But I would say like 95% of my coding now is done with Gemini 2.5, which will be interesting because now OpenAI just released O3 and O4 mini, which this new O3 model is their most powerful model, but they also have O4, which is a bigger number than O3, but not as powerful as O3.
And you know, Sam Altman had said a few things about these models maybe like a month or two ago, saying like, well, more recently he said O3, the benchmarks you saw for O3 were actually, we found some ways to improve upon the model more than we anticipated. So it's actually better than what we showed. But also in the past, he hinted at O3 Pro being amazing. And like you said off camera, maybe they're going to, O4 is O3 Pro, maybe.
Maybe, yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, or maybe O3 Pro might be what they launch as GPT-5. Who knows?
Yes, or O3 Pro could be like in a week or two, and it's only for the professional, users or something. Like that. That makes sense.
This O3 is their current most powerful model that we have access to. It's available to both Pro and Plus users. O4 Mini, I believe, is a faster, less expensive model, but still a very impressive model. We could kind of look at some of the charts that they show here. So they actually had another chart in their video that they're not showing here, but you can see that like their O4 mini with no tools scored 92.7 on competition math, and their O3 with no tools scored 88.9. So when it comes to math, I guess O4 mini is better than O3, but then they showed this other chart in their launch video, which showed O3 with Python, and it got like a 99.5% or something crazy like that on the competition math, basically like acing it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why they had to have something like GPT-5. Like they're going to have like one smart router to like, because all these models are good at different things, and it's and some of it you discover it over time. Like some of it, I'm just like you learn that like, oh, this model's just slightly better for this one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can see here that like O3 and O4 mini, like when it comes to competition code here, are like pretty equal. And then down here, the PhD level science questions, O3 is actually better at that than O4 mini, but O4 mini is better at math, but not as good at science. And
how big is the jump in general from like O1 to O3?
so we've got the estimated inference cost on this axis here, and then this is the math benchmark here, and we can see O3 mini here, like, is the lowest cost, but also didn't score as well, where you've got O4 mini high on math here, pretty expensive comparatively, but also, really smart. And then we can sort of see it in comparison here to O3, which is not as good, but it's not showing like the jump from like O1 Pro to O4, which is kind of frustrating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think O3 Pro be the more comparable there for O1 Pro.
But then here we can see when it comes to graduate level Google proof. So basically graduate level questions that you can't just Google an answer for is essentially what that means. So on that benchmark, O3 mini actually performs about the same as O4 mini high, which is interesting.
Oh, so the GPQA is actually physics, by the way. So it's like physics questions.
Okay.
Because I was like, yeah, hard questions.
Yeah. So cost performance, O1 and O3. Okay, so here we go. So here we can see this is math. AIME is math questions, right? So we can see on math, O3 for inference cost is down here. O3 high is way up here. And the inference cost is like way cheaper than O1 Pro, which I believe is the same as O1 high.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're using different terminology. I think O1 high is O1 Pro.
Yeah, but I mean, I think, remember when we talked about when like reasoning models first came out, I think when we were out in Boston.
Yeah.
We talked about like how things were going to speed up now that there was this new paradigm where it wasn't just throwing more data at it, but you also could throw more compute power to it. And so we probably would see things improve dramatically faster. I feel like we're now seeing that because instead of the model getting, twice as good in like, 2 years, it's like now it's like what, like in 3 months or something?
Yeah. The amount of time between like each of these new releases is just like
so fast.
Compressing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, here's one that's really impressive. That same GPQA here, we could see like, here's the curve of O3. Look at where O1 Pro is basically down here. The cost is like the highest possible cost, and it's dumber than O3 low model, or about on par with the O3 low model here. And the O3 high is still cheaper than, maybe slightly cheaper than O1 medium, but like, look at the jump in intelligence way up here. It's pretty wild.
The other day, I used ChatGPT to sort through the latest AI news and tell me what order to talk about them in my YouTube videos. And I was honestly surprised at how spot on it was. One of the biggest tips I give to people still building their confidence with ChatGPT is simple. Just start throwing prompts in and see what it can do. Now, to help you get rolling, HubSpot put together a free guide with over 100 prompts you can start messing with right now. Trust me, it's going to help you unlock some serious potential. You can grab it in the link below. Now back to the show.
So, I mean, the speed at which these leaps are happening is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is, when we first started the show, we were talking about like how big a change this was. And I think people probably thought that was hype. And it's actually happening now, and I think people still don't understand. Sam Altman was interviewed at TED the other day.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I think he said that they have 500 million weekly active users now. And then the TED guy said, backstage, you told me that your numbers doubled in the last month since the whole Ghibli thing came out. And he was like, that was supposed to be off record, but yeah, it's going well. I mean, so possibly OpenAI is what, in the ballpark of maybe 700 plus million users. I mean, that is just, we've never, Silicon Valley has never seen this before. And it's so wild that Sam Altman used to run YC, like the big incubator for Silicon Valley, that he ends up producing the biggest startup of all time, possibly.
I just wonder why he would want that to be off record. You know, that's something that would probably attract investors pretty quickly to know those numbers.
Yeah, but I think he's really intelligent. He is in a game with Google and Grok and Anthropic and everyone of like, there's some, you want to hype things up, but also you have to keep some cards secret, right? Like you want them to know exactly everything. And there's probably some misdirection and all kinds of stuff going on. But it's wild how fast this stuff is improving. And one thing that I found interesting is in the interview, he alluded to this being possibly like the most pivotal year for AI. Like basically saying, and he's also kind of like saying the best is yet to come kind of thing. And also talking about the next big thing is scientific discoveries. And the biggest talk on X over the last week that I've seen is in some of them where you can share, like there was like positive things being said by scientists too, kind of alluding to this being possibly true, is that they've had early access to the new OpenAI models and possibly some new discoveries have been made, or at least experiments that they were not able to come up with that are now helping them possibly discover new things in science. So possibly this is like having like really, really material impact on science for the first time ever.
In fact, let me pull up an article. I was actually reading this earlier. It's on the information here. OpenAI's latest breakthrough, AI that comes up with new ideas. If the upcoming models dubbed O3 and O4 Mini perform the way their early testers say they do, the technology might soon come up with novel ideas for AI customers on how to tackle problems such as designing or discovering new types of materials or drugs that could attract Fortune 500 customers such as oil and gas companies and commercial drug developers, in addition to research lab scientists. The apparent improvements highlight the benefit of AI models focused on reasoning, which the ChatGPT maker debuted in September. But yeah, basically saying that these new models, the people that got early access have been saying like, this is helping us design and discover new materials and drugs, which is like, that's kind of the holy grail of what people want AI to do.
Yes. I mean, it looks like we're already there and we've just like scratched the surface of what the new paradigm with reasoning models can do. Like there's no, like clear like issues where it's not gonna be able to scale up, at least for several years. Maybe in the future we'll be like, oh, okay, we've kind of reached the limit of this, or it can only like slightly get better, but it seems like the next several years, it's gonna keep accelerating and possibly, revolutionizing science. So it's like just, it's exciting.
Yeah, and one of the things about these new models that we haven't even touched on yet is that they're all being built in sort of they're all being built multimodal, right? So like they're theoretically, you can give them videos, you can give them audio, you can give them text, you can give them all the modalities, images, anything, and it will actually be able to understand what's going on within those. But also they all have search now, and they're all getting the ability to use tools. And so this chart I found pretty interesting. This is one that they showed in their live stream, but they didn't actually put on their website, was that you can see that when they gave O4 Mini tool use and it was using Python to help with the math, it scored 99.5 on the competition math. So like basically acing competition math when you give it access to be able to use tools. Like it's getting to that point where like these benchmarks aren't good enough anymore. We need new benchmarks for like, can AI like find new discoveries for us? Like, how do we make those kinds of benchmarks?
Right. Yeah, it's getting wild. I think really, and we're getting more and more to a situation too. Like when the O1 came out, it took people a while to realize how good it was or like what it meant.
Yeah. We're entering completely new territory that nobody's been in yet. And even all the people that are trying to predict when things are going to happen or what's going to happen next are all just making predictions. Like they don't even necessarily know what's coming or where this is going to lead.
I've been preaching this for a while, but like, I really feel like major corporations are not taking this seriously enough. Like, I think people don't realize how smart Elon Musk has been in this area where he's like really like made things more lean and like move fast kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Every big company should be doing that because otherwise, how do you survive in an environment where things are dramatically changing?
Yeah. Did you see Toby Lutke's statement from Shopify? Yeah. I mean, he's basically saying what you said, but like the big point that he made is if you guys want to hire anybody else in Shopify, you must prove that what you're hiring for can't be done with AI first. If you can prove AI cannot do it, then okay, you can make the hire, but you must prove to me that AI can't do it first.
Right. And it's also super clever because he's also kind of like baking in AI into the culture of the company, where it's like, look, if you're involved in the company, you have to be thinking about how you can be using AI to make the company better.
Yeah.
Right. Like because otherwise, how could you do that test if you're not like actually using AI and like actively understanding what it can do?
And I don't think he's coming from a place of like, AI is going to replace all of you. I think he's coming from a place of like, this company can be so much more efficient and so much better and get things done so much more smoothly if we're all leveraging AI together.
He's trying to make like an AI first company. Like even though they're a large org, restructuring already to be an AI first company. And most companies are not realizing this. I mean, I think it's like almost all major companies should be reorganizing right now ahead of time. But, like people always, they're more reactive than proactive, like especially big organizations. Like all the companies, they will realize this like 5 or 10 years from now. And then some of them will not survive because of that. But it's going to be a wild time.
Yeah. Well, so I want to bring this one home with this. So I actually asked OpenAI's deep research to sort of break down all of the models, like help get past the confusion, do the deep research on which models are good at what, and then give me like a ranked order of basically which one's the dumbest to the smartest of all of the available models right now. It actually took, 16 minutes for even ChatGPT to figure out its own dang models with how confusing it all is. But here's the breakdown. Let me kind of scroll down because they did sort of rank order them here. So GPT 3.5 is great at basic conversations, but substantially lower reasoning and knowledge than the others. Then GPT 4, which came out in March 2023, was a big leap from 3.5. And then you have GPT 4 Turbo / GPT 4o, which apparently are sort of tied. Then you have GPT 4.1 Nano, which is one that came out this week, which is a very small but surprisingly capable model. 80% of GPT-4's ability, basically. Then you have GPT 4.1 Mini / GPT-4o. So GPT-4.1 Mini was one that came out this week. GPT-4o is the one that's sort of been the default model for a while inside of ChatGPT. But GPT-4.1 Mini, it says matches or exceeds GPT-4o's intelligence. So both are kind of tied. Then you have GPT 4.5, which was the one that they codenamed Orion. GPT 4.5 was one that's been available for pro user, or for, was it pro users, plus users? I get all the names mixed up. I know it's been available in the $200 a month plan. I can't remember if it was available in the $20 a month plan. But that one's been one that was sort of more human-like, I guess. It's good at writing stories, good at when you just want to have like a chat with an AI. That was the one that I always felt like was the best at having like a very human-like conversation. Then you have OpenAI's O1. This was their first reasoning model where it actually sort of thought through after you gave it the prompt. And so during inference, it sort of did that sort of chain of thought thinking. This was the first model we saw that was doing that. Then you have O4 Mini, which was, I believe, one that also came out this week, is a little bit better than just the standard O1. So it's a new efficient reasoning model. When run in high compute mode, it's extremely capable, likely outperforming O1 and approaching the top models in STEM benchmarks. Then you have GPT 4.1 Full, which is another one that came out this week, which is OpenAI's latest GPT model. Only available in the API right now, not available in ChatGPT. And this one's more tuned for coding and following instructions. But this is why it's a little bit confusing, because we can see GPT 4.1 is actually a smarter model than GPT 4.5. So even though the numbering scheme went backwards, it's actually a more powerful model. And then you have OpenAI O1 Pro, which for the longest time was OpenAI's top dog model. If you got into ChatGPT and you had the $200 a month plan, O1 Pro was the best of the best. It just kind of crushed anything you threw at it. It was really good at coding. Took forever to get into the API, but that was their best for a long time. And then you have OpenAI O3, which was also one that was just released this week. It is available in ChatGPT. It's available both in Pro and Plus, so $20 and $200 a month plans. This one is their new best, most powerful model they're making available right now. That's OpenAI O3. And then this list says their most intelligent, best possible model you can use is O3 with tool use turned on. So allowing O3 to use tools like Python and things like that to help it with its math and coding and logic and things like that. When you use O3 with tools, it's their best model. And then also GPT 4.1, they've also sort of tied with it depending on the use case. So insanely confusing.
Yeah. So
but this is the order it ranked it in based on all the deep research.
Yes, I mean, so thankfully, like, people won't have to worry about this soon. So like, hopefully in like 2 months, you won't have to worry about this. GPT-5 hopefully be out. It'll manage all that for you. You just talk to one model. But right now, I mean, I think their descriptions actually are pretty good in line with what, my experience. Like, I think there's like 3 models the average people would use right now. Like 4.0, that's what most people would use. Like I said, that model keeps getting better. Like, I'm not sure.
If you're just using ChatGPT free, that's what you're using. You're using 4.0.
Yeah, 4.0 is great. It just kept getting better. They haven't really like made a big fuss about it, but it seemed to have just kept getting smarter in some way. I don't think that's entirely reflected in the benchmarks. 4.5 still seems to be the best for writing. So if you're wanting to edit something or write something, 4.5 is the best. And then now
but that one's also getting phased out, so use it while you can.
Use it while you can. I think it'll still be there in 5, if I had to guess, behind the scenes. And then O3, which I haven't used yet, but based on the benchmarks and my understanding how the models work, I would assume that's going to be the best if you have any complicated questions. Like if there's something that you're thinking like, oh, the model might give me too surface level of an answer. It's not taking the time to think it through. Because if you're asking something complex, you probably want to hand it to O3 and give it the time to really think through its response to you.
That's also probably the one I would imagine you're going to go to for coding as well.
Yeah, probably so. Like I haven't had a chance to test any of it with coding yet. I'm curious. I'm going to try it today, probably with like repo prompt and then try it there.
There's one last thing that we didn't actually bring up about the new models that they just released, and that's the context window. One of these models is actually a 1 million token context window.
Is a real one? Like I remember that was a part of the whole fiasco with Meta as well. Is like they said like 2 million context window, and then apparently at all the benchmarks it would like start to like fall apart after like 128K context or something. It was like,
yeah. Let me see. Let me look here real quick, and we'll look at. I don't know. I actually kind of trust OpenAI's word on this a little bit more than I trust
me too, because that was just ridiculous. Like people tested it. It's like they were hyping up like 2 million contacts or 4 million or whatever it was they hyped up. And then people tested it. And as soon as it went beyond like 128K contacts, like the model just like became really dumb.
So one of these, I'm not sure which one is the million token context window.
I would be surprised if they all are. That seems like probably like a benchmark they'd be aiming to hit now. That seems like a, Google's already there.
So Gemini is what, 2 million. Llama 4 claims to be 10 million.
Oh, that's what it was. 10 was like way bigger number. Yeah.
But yeah, these context windows are getting to a point where like context length is not going to be an issue for very much longer.
Yeah.
Like you're going to be able to plug in entire code bases and it's going to be able to read the whole dang thing.
Yeah, and it is interesting that like Sam Altman kind of admitted, he's like, well, he said number one, like they were asking about like DeepSeek, and he's like, well, it hasn't impacted our growth at all. So not really too worried about it. But also he was saying that like moving forward, like it's probably more about the things they build on top of the models, because the models are only going to be, he thinks they're going to continue to be in the lead. He said, but that lead is going to narrow and it's going to be like a small lead in the future. So it's all about what they build on top of it.
So yeah, that's pretty much a breakdown of all the OpenAI news that came out over the last few days. There was one smaller update that's just like a quality of life thing. If you are generating images inside of OpenAI, they created this library page where you can see all the images that you've generated in just like one spot. Kind of cool quality of life thing that they've added.
Yeah, just another move towards killing Midjourney possibly.
Yeah, very true.
Like I'm gonna feel bad. Midjourney
Did you see the latest 7. Time magazine cover?
No.
It's on the screen. Best AI YouTuber 2025.
Okay.
It's official. It's on Time magazine.
Yeah, it's right there. It's gotta be real.
It's gotta be real for sure. Yeah, we went off on a few little tangents, but hopefully we brought it all home by sort of showing you the ranking of intelligence. And I think, Nathan, you did a good job of saying like, all right, these are the 3 models you're probably going to use.
Yeah.
So hopefully you found this informative and helpful, trying to declutter your mind on all of these different OpenAI models, because it's still confusing to us. I mean, we're paying attention to it every day and we still get confused. So, hopefully this helped a little bit. And thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you like it, make sure that you subscribe, ideally on YouTube. That's where we're really trying to primarily grow the show. But if you prefer audio, we're available on Spotify and iTunes and wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you once again for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one.